Hi, welcome to EPG Pathshala Spanish. I'm Rajiv Saxena and I teach Spanish in the Center of Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, and Latin American Studies in the Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi. We are in the paper entitled Intermediate Grammar, and in this module, we are going to be talking about the word formations. The objective of this module is that you will learn how compound words are formed and how the verbs are derived from nouns and vice versa. A variety of word derivation and formations make Spanish one of the richest languages in the world, and it is basically because of this that so many Nobel Prize winners in literature are from the world of Spanish. Let us see how nouns can be formed from various verbs in Spanish. Some nouns related to verbs consist of the verb stem o or a. Aumentar, to increase. Ayudar, to help. Contar, to count. El aumento means to increase. La ayuda means help. And la cuenta means bill. So, just the nouns which are related to verbs take on the o or the a and they become the noun. So, aumentar becomes aumento, ayudar becomes la ayuda, and contar becomes la cuenta. Charlar, to chat, dudar, to doubt, encontrar, to meet. So, it is espantar, to frighten. These become la charla, which is the chat or the talk, la duda, doubt, el encuentro, a meeting or a sports match, el espanto, the fright or the scare. Esperar, to wait, fracasar, to fail, gastar, to spend, and practicar, to practice, regresar, to return, and volar, to fly. These change in Spanish as la espera, waiting, el fracaso, failure, el gasto, expense, la práctica, practice, el regreso, return, and el vuelo, the flight. Please take a printout from the e-text part and learn these word lists that I am giving right now so that you can learn them and you can memorize all of them together. Many nouns are formed from the past participle of the verbs. These can also be as the verb stem plus the suffixes ada for AR verbs and ida for ER and IR ending verbs. So, for example, we have got bajar, which is to go downstairs. It becomes la bajada, the way down or the decline. Caer, to fall, becomes la caída, the fall. Comer, to eat, becomes la comida, which means the meal or the food. Correr, to run, becomes la corrida de toros or a bullfight. Entrar, to enter, becomes la entrada or the entrance. Ir, to go, becomes la ida or the trip to somewhere. Llegar, to arrive, becomes la llegada, which is the arrival. So in this way, we can see how each verb has its noun, which is very easy to understand by putting ada or ido. Again, in the same way, mirar, to look at, or glance is la mirada, the look or the glance. Salir, to go out, becomes la salida or the exit. Subir, which is the verb for going up, to go up, becomes la subida, the way up or to rise. Volver, to go or to come back, becomes la vuelta, the return or the trip back. Many nouns are formed from AR verbs with the suffix sion. Most of these have English cognates ending in "tion". Admirar, la admiración, admiration. Admirar, la admiración. Organizar, la organización, organization. La organización. Invitar, la invitación, invitation, invitación. Separar, la separación, separation, la separación. Note that not all English words ending in shun or sun have Spanish equivalents ending in sion or shun. Transportation in English becomes el transporte because la transportación in Spanish is very rare. So it is el transporte in Spanish and transportation in English. The suffixes ansia and encia are used to form nouns from verbs. Most of the nouns have English cognates. Coincidir becomes la coincidencia, the coincidence, la coincidencia. Tolerar becomes la tolerancia, the tolerance, la tolerancia. Preferir becomes la preferencia, preference, la preferencia. Vigilar becomes la vigilancia, la vigilancia. So in this way we can see how these words are changing. The suffix miento is widely used to form nouns from verbs. AR verbs have the vowel a before the suffix. Both ER and IR verbs have the vowel e. So, agotar, to exhaust, which is an AR ending verb, becomes el agotamiento, exhaustion. Entender, to understand, becomes el entendimiento, understanding. In the same way, we can see that forming verbs from nouns. After learning how nouns are formed from verb, let us see how the opposite works here. The suffix er is one of the most common ways to convert a noun into a verb. It can convey the impression of a repeated movement or action of the noun. So, párpado, eyelid, becomes parpadear, to blink. Párpado, eyelid, becomes parpadear, to blink. Paso, step, becomes pasear, to walk. Paso, the step, becomes pasear, to walk. Most of these verbs can then form a noun ending in eo, el parpadeo, blinking, el paseo, the walk. Some nouns can be transformed into verbs by the prefix en plus infinitive ending ar. La cadena, chain, becomes encadenar, to chain. La máscara, mask, becomes enmascarar, to mask. El veneno, poison, becomes envenenar, to poison. Some of these verbs allow a new noun to be formed by adding miento. El encadenamiento, it becomes chaining. El encadenamiento, chaining. El envenenamiento, poisoning. El envenenamiento, poisoning. What happens when we form verbs from adjectives? Certain adjectives can be transformed into verbs by the prefix a plus infinitive ending ar. Fino, which is fine, becomes afinar, to refine, to tune. Liano, flat, becomes alianar, to flatten, to level. Liso, which is smooth, becomes alisar, to smoothen. Manso, which is tame, becomes amansar, to tame or to domesticate. So, by just putting the prefix a plus the infinitive ending ar is gives us a wide usage of words. For example, fino, fine, becomes afinar, to refine. Liano, flat, becomes alianar, to flatten, to level. Liso, which is smooth, becomes alisar, to smoothen. Manso, which is tame, becomes amansar, to tame or to domesticate. The suffix "-ser" is added to the stem of some adjectives and noun to create a new verb. So, the "-ser" is added to the stem of some adjectives and nouns to create a new verb. So, oscuro becomes oscurecer, to get dark. Pálido becomes palidecer, to glow pale. Like all "-ser" verbs, the first person singular and the present subjunctive have ZC before the ending. So, I repeat, just by putting ser, some adjectives and nouns create a new verb like oscurecer or palidecer, which means to get dark or to get pale. The example which we have used now, we are going to make it into a sentence. Temo que oscurezca antes de que llegue Miguel. So I'm afraid it will get dark before Miguel arrives. Temo que oscurezca antes de que llegue Miguel. So by putting oscurecer as a verb, we are making a new word which is oscurecer, to become dark. I'm afraid it will get dark before Miguel arrives. Temo que oscurezca antes de que llegue Miguel. Many adjectives can be made into verbs with the prefix n, m before b and p, and the suffix ser. Adjectives change the c to qu before ser, whose stems end in se. Triste, for example, becomes entristecer, to sadden. Pobre, which is to be poor, becomes empobrecer, to impoverish. Rico, which is rich, becomes enriquecer, to enrich. So, triste, which is a noun, becomes entristecer, to sadden, a verb. Pobre, which is a noun, poor, becomes empobrecer, to impoverish. Rico, which is a noun, rich, becomes enriquecer, to enrich. So, by adding suffixes, we form new nouns also. The suffix ada can have three different meanings. A full measure of the noun, the amount that the noun holds. Ado is also used with some nouns. For example, la cuchara, spoon, becomes cucharada, a spoonful. La pala, a shovel, becomes la palada, a shovelful. El puño, the fist, becomes el puñado, a fistful. La boca, mouth, becomes el bocado, a mouthful. I repeat, la cuchara, which is a spoon, becomes la cucharada, a spoonful. La pala, which is a shovel, becomes la palada, a shovelful. El puño, fist, becomes el puñado, a fistful. La boca, mouth, becomes el bocado, or a mouthful. A blow with the object designated by the noun. El cuchillo, the knife, becomes la cuchilla, la cuchillada, a slash made with a knife. So, el cuchillo, a knife, becomes la cuchillada, a slash made with a knife. El puñal, a dagger, becomes la puñalada, a stab. El puñal, the dagger, becomes la puñalada, a stab. La pata, the foot, becomes la patada, the kick. La pata, foot, becomes la patada, or the kick. An act typical to the object or person designated by the noun. El animal, animal. Una animalada, a stupid or gross thing to do. So, el animal, una animalada, a stupid or gross thing to do. El payaso, clown. Una payasada, clown-like action worthy of a clown. El muchacho, a boy, a kid. Una muchachada, a kid's prank. So, Spanish is so beautiful that by just putting a small little suffix, you can make a new verb with a completely different and a beautiful meaning to it. So, animal becomes animalada, a gross thing to do. Payaso becomes payasada, a clown-like action, an action worthy of a clown. Muchacho, or a kid, becomes a muchachada, a kid's prank. So you can see the variety that the Spanish language offers to us. In the same way, the suffix astro is the equivalent of English step with relatives. El hermanastro, step brother. The suffix aso, like ada, can also signify a blow with the object designated by the noun. In Latin America, aso can also be an augmentative suffix. So, la bala, the bullet, becomes el balazo, a shot, a bullet wound. El codo, elbow, el codazo, a nudge or a push with the elbow. Los ojos, eyes, become los ojazos, big eyes. So, in the same sense, I repeat what I'm saying, that Spanish is such a beautiful language that by using these words, you can enrich your communication a lot. By saying la bala, el balazo, it becomes a shot, a bullet wound. El codo becomes el codazo, which is a nudge, a push with the elbow, which is a completely different meaning. Los ojos, eyes, become los ojazos, big eyes. The suffix "era" designate the container for the object expressed by the noun. Some nouns also have "ero" as a suffix for this meaning. La sopa, soup, la sopera, which is the soup bowl. El pimiento, pepper, becomes el pimentero when we are referring to the pepper shaker. So, because these are the utensils or the container for the object expressed by the noun, these are used affixed by the suffix era or by the ero. La sopa becomes la sopera, soup bowl. La pimienta, pepper, becomes el pimentero, the pepper shaker. The suffix "area", derived from "ero", designates the corresponding store or place of business. La librería is the bookstore. La relojería is the watchmaker's store or the watch store, etc. The suffix "ero" has other important functions. The owner or person in charge. La cárcel, jail, has el carcelero, the jailer. El molino, the mill, has el molinero, the miller. The person who makes or sells the object denoted by the noun is also important, and we can do this by putting a suffix. El libro, watch, becomes el librero, a bookseller. El reloj, the watch, becomes el relojero, the watchmaker. So, it denotes the person who makes or sells the object denoted by the noun. El libro becomes el librero, the bookseller. El reloj, watch, el relojero, the watchmaker. The person found of whatever the noun designates is also expressed in this manner. El queso, cheese, becomes quesero. Fond of cheese or a cheese loving person, quesero. El queso. El café, coffee, becomes cafetero or fond of coffee, a coffee drinker. El café, coffee, becomes cafetero, fond of coffee or a coffee drinker. Now, let us look at the Spanish influence on English word formation. Spanish influence on the English language was particularly important in the 16th century at a time when Spain was a world military and political power in conflict with British, and it gained a new momentum when Spain set foot in America. The best reflection of this influence is in the great number of Spanish loanwords in present-day English, especially in its American variety. So, historically speaking, because of the intimate contact of the Spanish with the English in the United States of America, Spanish has also left an imprint and a deep impact on the English derivational morphology. And this is something that cannot be said of most other living languages, such as Japanese, which also exert a significant influence on present-day English. So, English language has borrowed much more and has a derivational morphology which is more based from Spanish words which has been borrowed from America and Latin America. The suffixes or combining forms that betray Spanish origin include the prolific teria of cafeteria. Cafeteria is a completely Spanish word borrowed from Spanish, from the cafe and cafeteria, the place where coffee is sold, which becomes a completely English word of cafeteria. This slangy character is also present in other American combining forms of recent creations such as esta, fiesta, which denotes extra fanfare, celebration, and the like jubilesta, jubilee, Aluresta, Halloween, and LOC, common pattern amongst Spanish singular masculine nouns. So, by putting esta, fiesta, which is denoting extra fanfare, for example, jubliesta, oloresta, we are placing more stress on the fact that there is a little bit of extra fanfare and celebration in the word. This constitutes an amusing variation of whatever is infixed, el chipo, cheap product. Still more recent is the incorporation of the Spanish suffix esta to the English word stock. Given its novelty, the discussion of its origin and specific uses and meanings, in contrast with English ist, it would be interesting to explore how this was done. Let us look at some more examples. Verb stem plus o or a. Aumentar, to increase. Aumento, el aumento, to increase. Verb stem plus ada for ar verbs, or ida for ir or er verbs. Bajar, to go down, becomes bajada, the way down or the decline. So, by saying bajada, you're talking about the way down or decline of the verb bajar. Of the verb caer, to fall, it becomes caída, the fall. The caer, fall, becomes caída, the fall. The AR verbs plus sion gives us words like admirar, to admire, admiración, admiration. Verb stem plus ansia and encia becomes tolerar, becomes tolerancia. Coincidir becomes coincidencia. So, I repeat that the AR verbs plus sion becomes admirar, to admire, becomes admiración, the admiration. The verb stem plus ansia and encia becomes tolerar, for example, becomes tolerancia. Coincidir becomes coincidencia. Verb stem plus a for AR verbs or I for ER or ER verbs plus miento. Agotar, to exhaust, becomes agotamiento, exhaustion. Entender, to understand, becomes entendimiento, understanding. I repeat, the verb stem plus a for AR verbs or I for ER or IR verbs plus miento gives us a new possibility, like agotar, to exhaust, becomes agotamiento, exhaustion. Entender, to understand, becomes entendimiento, understanding. Verb stem plus AR conveys the impression of a repeated movement or action of the noun. Parpadeo, eyelid, becomes parpeado, becomes blink. Paso, step, becomes pasear, walk. I repeat, the verb stem plus AR conveys the impression of the repeated movement or the repeated action of the noun. Parpado, eyelid, becomes parpeado, blink. Paso, step, becomes pasear, to walk. N plus infinitive ending R leads us to another set of possibilities, which is cadena, chain, encadenar, to chain. Veneno, poison, becomes envenenar, to poison. So, when we are using N plus infinitive ending R, it becomes cadena, chain, encadenar, to chain. Veneno, poison, becomes envenenar, to poison. N plus infinitive ending AR plus miento leads us to another set of possibilities, like el encadenamiento, chaining, el envenenamiento, poisoning, el encadenamiento, N plus infinitive ending R plus miento, or el envenenamiento, the poisoning. N before B and P. El brujo, sorcerer, becomes embrujar, to cast a spell over, or to haunt. El papel, paper, becomes en papelar, to wallpaper. So the N before B and P, el brujo, sorcerer, becomes embrujar, to cast a spell over or to haunt. El papel, paper, becomes empapelar, to wallpaper. A plus infinitive ending ar becomes fino, fine, afinar, to refine, to tune. Manso, to tame, becomes amansar, to tame or to domesticate. A plus infinitive ending ar becomes fino, afinar, to refine. Manso, tame, becomes amansar, to tame or to domesticate. Ada, the full measure of noun or the amount that a noun holds. La cuchara, spoon, is equal to la cucharada, the spoonful. Blow with the object designated by the noun. El cuchillo, knife, becomes la cuchillada, a slash made with a knife. An act typical of the object or person designated by the noun. El animal, animal, una animalada, a stupid, gross thing to do. Astro, the English prefix step with relatives. Hermanastro, a step brother. Aso, like Ada, is a blow designated by the noun. La bala, bullet, becomes el balazo, a shot, a bullet wound. Area, on the other hand, is the corresponding store or place of business. El librero, the bookseller, becomes la libreria, the bookstore. Era or ero is the container for object expressed by the noun. La sopa, the soup, becomes la sopera or the soup bowl. It also indicates owner or person in charge. El libro, the book, becomes el or la librero or la librera, the bookseller. It also indicates a person fond of what the noun designates. El queso, cheese, becomes quesero or quesera, a cheese lover or a cheese loving person. So, to conclude, we would like to say that we have tried to cover everything about word formations in Spanish. In the advanced grammar portion, we will deal with this topic in a more detailed manner. But till then, please continue and please start communicating in Spanish using these words and these word lists that we have given over here to make your communication much better. Muchísimas gracias.